Amplifying Leadership, a podcast dedicated to sharing leadership ideas, challenges, tips, and even our successes. My name is Tara Lehman, and I'm a partner, coach, and consultant at Twin Life Coaching and Business Services, of which Amplifying Leadership is a division. For our leadership clients, we love to support you with tools, coaching, learning, and information through all of our leadership services. To learn more about our Amplifying Leadership division and our leadership community, please visit amplifyingleadership.ca. Today, I am welcoming Dennis Mellen. Dennis is a speaker, best-selling author, executive coach, leadership trainer, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, and even an Alaska Airline Captain. Wow, that's an amazing background. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Tara. I appreciate being on here and having the opportunity to pass on some nuggets if I can.
Oh, awesome. Great. Why don't we start by learning a little bit more about all of these wonderful things that you've done? So how did you come to leadership, or do you have a specific story you want to share to help us understand your leadership story?
Well, yeah, sure. At 10 years old, I'm sitting at my father's Air Force base over in Germany when these two F-4 Phantoms come screaming by in full afterburner.
Wow.
You know, that feeling that you could feel it in her chest when they're roaring by. And I'm popping my fist at my dad going, "Yeah, Dad, that's what I want to do when I grow up." Of course,
wow.
My wife says I haven't reached that point yet, but
what, growing up?
Yeah. No, so I wanted to be a professional pilot, and I knew one of the ways of doing it was to go through the Air Force. So I went to the Air Force Academy, Air Force pilot training, and at about the 6-year point, I realized I could continue flying with the Air Force Reserves.
Okay.
And pursue an airline job. So I got hired by Alaska Airlines. And then I went through various positions, retiring from the Air Force as a lieutenant colonel and from Alaska Airlines as a fleet captain in charge of about 650 pilots and 40 instructors. So
lots of leadership experience there.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that you go through. At first, you think you suffer from imposter syndrome. But then you realize if there's 650 pilots, there's probably 650 opinions. So yours is just as good as theirs.
That's a good one. I like that. Everybody does have an opinion, and we take information in very differently, every single person. So I love that. I love that. What would you say was the biggest obstacle during your leadership journey that you did have to overcome?
I think what I alluded to earlier, that imposter syndrome. Why have I been put into this position? And then you go through this thing of, well, I've been put in this position. I'm supposed to know everything. And then you come to realize after you make a few mistakes that you don't know everything, and you need to rely on the other members of your team, your employees, your other managers and leaders in your group.
Absolutely. So, yes. Yeah. You absolutely have to rely on everybody, because I mean, as you were on my website, Amplifying Leadership, and you can see that it's not about just dictating. I mean, you'll never know everything, right? You'll never be that, nobody wants to be the dictator that's dictating what to do. It is about being a team. It's about learning and growing together.
Right. You end up trying to get a team that probably knows more than you do on almost every subject, but you're the one that is making the decisions, and you're the one that knows how to simulate that. So I think of it as, you don't have to be as smart as everybody around it, but you have to be able to make the smart choices, find the options.
Yes, everybody needs a decision maker. And absolutely right there. Bang on with that one. But teamwork, that's the best part.
Yeah. They often say that when you get your team together, you're going to have 5 or 6 different options and everything. And there's only a few ways of doing something wrong. But the big thing is making the decision and going down a track. You can always adapt to the situation, but making that decision and starting to execute it is the key. And once you have some observations, you kind of do the loop, observe, orient, go a direction, and then adapt to the situation and start that whole process back again.
Yes, absolutely. You always have to reassess too. Did it work? Right. Didn't it work? what didn't work, why didn't it work, all those questions. And I'm going to go back to something you had alluded to as well, which is getting those ideas from your team, because leaders don't have all the answers, but getting those ideas from the team gives you a selection almost of solutions. Right. And as the leader, you make the right decision based on the information that you and everybody else brings to the table. What do you think?
Right. Yeah. Well, of course, what it is creating that environment where you can have those positive, purposeful, productive conversations without fear of shame or retribution. Here's an idea, let's talk about why it'll work or why it won't work. And then we'll start developing what either the consensus is or the final decision needs to be if it's time critical.
Exactly.
There's a lot of input that you can get from, and it's important to the point where if you have somebody that's not participating in the conversation, is drawing them out. Tara, you haven't said a whole lot about this. What's going through your head on this? And that it forces you to pay attention, but it also forces you to make an evaluation and express your opinion.
Exactly. It's about being welcoming and including everyone, really. Yeah. So you did let me know that one leadership topic that really does intrigue you is that of engaging employees through culture, leadership, and interrelationships. So what makes this topic so important to leadership and to leaders?
Well, it's funny that you bring it up because I actually spell culture with a K so that I can make those initials into an acronym, KPI.
Oh,
and if you can
I love it.
If you can make that your ultimate KPI, it'll drive your other key performance indicators in your company. And culture, leaders are the single biggest influencers to culture and the performance of a team. If a leader doesn't care, the rest of the team doesn't care.
Yes, I agree.
If a leader doesn't want to address this, the rest of the team's not going to address this. And it kind of it affects everything. Leadership is that important, and it's not the know all be all. It's the drawing out the strengths and skills of your team. And if you don't have them there, making sure that you get somebody on the team that has that particular skill that's missing. So making that your ultimate KPI is what will drive that elite performance that most companies are looking for. Some people are just collecting a paycheck and getting by, but if you're going for that, if you're looking for performance and you're not satisfied with the performance you're getting, the first place to look at is at your leadership, because that's going to affect everything else.
And you're right, it does come from leadership, even the board of directors, if you have one, to your C-suites, to your managers, on, because everybody needs to have those skill sets and know that they have leaders that can help them make decisions and even help them grow. And good culture comes from that and has to be bought in at the top level. I 100% agree with that. It's so important.
Yeah.
Buy-in.
Yeah.
So I do talk a lot about being an inclusive leader, but also discussions around inclusive workplaces that we've talked a little bit about. What tips, or maybe you have a story with some tips that you can share with us today around a positive workplace culture that you either created or maybe you were part of that really stood out to you?
Well, coming from several airlines, one of the things was that I noticed there was a difference in the Air Force. We'd all gone through the same experiences, just about same training, same professional schools, leadership schools. So we're all on board with, and in a way, maybe stuck in a certain rut on thought processes. But what I learned from working with several airlines was bringing those perspectives in that other people bring to the table, so that you have things that you can discuss. One of the things that happened when I was a fleet captain at Alaska, I had a instructor that, very competent, but seemed to be a thorn in my side all the time.
Oh dear.
And always bringing up the what could happen, what what do they call it?
Devil's advocate type of
Yeah, some
person?
kind of biases or stuff.
Yeah.
And somebody came up to me and said, "Well, why don't you just let him go?" I said, "You know what? That probably is a thing, an option that I could use. Well, why not keep him there? Because he's making us think harder about what we're doing. He's bringing a perspective. It may have been he may have been a naysayer for most of them, but he's bringing in a unique perspective that we need to consider why this won't work, or why we've tried this in the past. Okay, now I've got to explain why we're considering it again. Circumstances have changed because we all know how dynamic business is. We talk about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, those type of things.
Yeah.
And having those perspectives is really important. So you're starting to see companies bring more and more diversity into their workforce because they have different experiences. They're going to have a different perspective on things.
Absolutely.
And you certainly don't want to miss out on an option that will really take off and get you to that elite performance that we're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's diversity is very important to having a great inclusive culture as well, because you do learn from different angles. I come from the trucking industry, and I've mentioned this before, but it's heavily male dominated.
Yeah.
And so being a leader in that type of industry can be difficult for women. I was lucky; I was in a great company, but you want to feel more diversity. I would have loved to have seen more diversity in the industry, and something I continue to hope to see and work on now. Yeah.
Well, imagine this. A few years back when I was in the Air Force, we had no women pilots, and the first pilots that came in, they were out in front of everybody. It was a glass house, literally. Everybody's looking at every single thing, trying to find fault of why we shouldn't have women pilot. And what I did, I was a chief pilot at the time. I started thinking, well, this is the direction we're going. How can I help these ladies assimilate in a squadron? And granted, you're not going to take a brand new pilot and put them in the left seat or put them in flight lead or one of those positions. It takes a while to develop that.
Right.
If everybody's looking at you constantly, you're afraid to make mistakes. Well, I have made more mistakes than I've been successful. But the fact of the matter is, instead of looking at them at mistakes, I looked at them as that's not the way. That's a way that won't work. It's the Thomas Edison thing, he 10,000 tries to get a light bulb.
Yes.
He was asking about the 10,000 failures. He said, I don't look at them at 10,000 failures. Those are 10,000 ways that didn't work where I finally got to the one. So I tried to get the ladies that were coming in, because we brought in, I think, 3 within the first year or 2. And I would tell them, you've got to allow yourself to make mistakes, and to learn from them. Regardless of what everybody else is saying, they've made the same mistakes over and over again, some of them. And by putting that pressure on yourself, you're more apt to make mistakes. So I don't know if if I was on the leading edge of diversity, but for sure I was helping them to realize that it's a learning process. And just as a side note, it's taken 40 years for there to be a 4-star general in charge of a combat command.
Wow.
That's now a woman. Well, I think she's retired now, but it took 40 years for that to develop. It's not like,
incredible,
Gary, you're going to be in charge of the NATO commander in chief. It takes time. And a lot of times when we're looking at diversity, we're looking at time constraint. And in a professional environment, it takes a while to develop. It just doesn't just turn on and on and off, So
change management, takes time, right? Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, diversity is taking some time too. In some people's opinion, too long. But
yes, Yes,
We
I
should
would
have
I
done a
would
lot
say
of these.
that.
Yeah, we should have done a lot of these things a while back, but
Well, you should be proud of yourself for thinking about it so long ago because, women do sometimes feel they have to be strong. They have to do things perfectly and they give themselves a lot of self-doubt when they have a mistake. And
right.
just like you, I see failures and mistakes as transformations.
Yeah,
You have to make them.
what's that Japanese samurai saying? Fall down 7 times and get up 8.
Yes, exactly.
Keep plugging away. Yeah.
Keep trying, and one time you will figure out that secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, what would you say beyond what we've talked about today, which has covered a lot of great topics? Is there any other part of leadership that you feel somebody may need in order to lead effectively, either in the work that you do as a coach or even as when you were, for example, in a pilot?
I think communications is the biggest part,
Yes.
is learning how to communicate with somebody. Now, there's going to be confidential things, but you
Of
still
course.
have to refer to them in some way.
Mm.
I know of a lady where somebody was fired and everybody was wondering why, and they kept asking and says, well, it's in confidence, we can't talk about it. You still need to have an explanation. Because, that's just like the old event to outcome sequence. An event happens, a challenge or an obstacle. What we do as leaders to alter, change, or affect the outcome makes the difference.
Mm-hmm.
If we do nothing, just like if we do nothing when somebody gets fired, then negativity will fill that gap.
Mm-hmm.
There's that gap's not going to stay there. It will be filled.
Right. Yeah.
So you might as well fill it up with, you don't have to be perfectly transparent because some things need to be kept in confidence, but enough so that, this person was fired because they lied, cheat, or stole something. That's obvious. But on something that, they're not meeting their quotas or they failed to observe company regulations or something like that. That's all that needs to be said, But it's communication is what the key, and that's what builds trust, and that's what builds commitment, is being able to communicate.
And that is one of my favorite topics that I talk about in even my workshop series. Communication is so important. It is about, like you said, just earlier, even listening and getting feedback and being open and honest where possible, because you're right, there's a lot of confidential stuff that you can't share. Can't say, well, someone's off lot because, they're going to cancer treatments and things like that.
Yeah.
But you can say there is a reason for it, So I agree, confidential stuff must stay there. But the more open you can be about things that are going well or wrong in a company, the better, for sure. The open door policy almost.
Yeah, and it goes to general communications all the way down to getting to know individuals on your team.
Yes.
It's important to know more than just Tara and I work at amplifying leadership, and that's all we do. Well, it's important to know that Joanne has 3 kids that are in college and she's struggling to make payments, or Bob over here has 2 parents that are in long-term care. Those factors outside of work are affecting their work. So how do we, if I don't know about it and they're not performing well, there's a discrepancy there that you need to address. It's obviously affecting their works in some way, and if you help them, they're going to want to be more help for other people, and once their crisis is over, hopefully, they're going to be more engaged than they were before.
Yes. And I used to do one-on-one meetings with my direct reports once a week, just short meetings. Make sure everything's okay with work, obviously. And it's a check-in as well. If I notice something not going well or absenteeism's going up or whatever, is there something that I should know about? Is there something you need help with? If it's EA, employee assistance program information I can pass on, all those types of things. You do need to know those things. Again, it can be confidential in a one-on-one meeting, absolutely. But knowing those things helps us as leaders understand why maybe you're not doing so well right now.
Yeah, and I use the analogy like your business, your team, they're in this roiling, boiling pot of water. So you become that coffee bean that goes in there and starts spreading through the water. And if I can start converting other people into coffee beans, maybe we can make this roiling, boiling pot of water into some useful thing like gourmet coffee. Bring that team together, you know. And that's you being that little tiny coffee bean and starting the whole process.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. That's part of my signature talk. So
I love it. And who doesn't drink coffee, right?
Yeah.
Well, some don't, but yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Is there any one big tip you want to leave our audience with today that perhaps could maybe enhance their leadership skills?
Well, I was, as you were thinking about that, that's a great question. I think making sure that you have the empathy, that you're building the relationship, that connection with your people. Too many times in the past, we've had, okay, I'm the leader, I'm the manager, I'm the director, and this is the direction we're going, regardless of the feelings, the motivations, the level of engagement of your team or your employees. Making sure that you have a relationship developed on a personal level is I think the utmost key. It's the very basis of servant leadership, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that's you've got to have almost equal parts of empathy and accountability. You know, if you're not doing what needs to be done, Tara, we need to have a conversation. Oh, you have something else going on. Oh, you don't have anything. Well, now you need to step it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're looking for performance. We're not looking for people that show up to work to collect a paycheck. You know, we're looking for those that I get to go to work instead of I have to go to work. You know,
I was just reading something on LinkedIn about, you know, do you dread Monday mornings? Because if you do, you could be good at your job even, but or not. But if you are good at your job, are you happy? Right. Yeah. So even understanding if they're unhappy because maybe they want different work or they want more responsibility, you can even give them project work and stuff to help grow them.
Yeah. So, I found an article the other day. It was talking about that. And it was, we talk about employee benefits.
Yes.
Well, what about emotional benefits? If you can invest in that, I was working with a senior care facility. They have a lot of healthcare workers, and they're struggling with their culture basically. But they're losing people, absenteeism, turnover rates, quiet quitters even. But they're losing people because several of them went to a rival senior care facility because they could get a 25 cents an hour more.
Wow.
Well, that's what, I don't know, $40 a week maybe. So why not invest in connecting them to the company? You're going to reap benefits and they're going to go, I really don't need that extra quarter an hour.
Right. Yeah.
I like where I'm working.
Yeah.
Now, granted, at some point we may have to increase the hourly rate on them, but in the interim, as a leader, inspire them to be, I get to go to work. It's money well to go to work,
Yeah. I mean, not everybody can pay top dollar, whatever that is. But if you have that culture that we've been talking about, communicative, inclusive, diverse, people are going to want to stay and will forgo the extra quarter.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just the way. Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for a great conversation around leadership today. It was very informative. If people wanted to find out more about you or they have some questions, is there a way they can get in touch with you online?
Absolutely. One is go to my website, fullthrottleleadership.com, and or drop me a email at dennis@fullthrottleleadership.com. And if you go to the website, there's a free download there of 4 action items that you can start using today.
Oh,
to
I love it.
improve your leadership. It's my elite performance blueprint, and they're real simple things to implement, and you'll see results fairly quick.
I love those small actions we can take today to make us
Yeah.
better leaders. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing all your experiences and your tips today, Dennis.
Well, I appreciate it, Tara. This was a great conversation. I wish it was longer. I love talking about this stuff.
Awesome. Well, maybe you come back another time.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to do that.
Awesome. A big thank you to our listeners as well. I really do hope you were able to gain some valuable information from Dennis today. If you are new to leadership or even a seasoned leader who knows that leadership coaching, consulting, or even workshops are the way to grow on your leadership journey, or perhaps you want to join a community of leaders, please visit us at amplifyingleadership.ca, a Twin Life coaching and business services division. Until next time, please be safe and be an amazing leader or leader to be.